Hi, plant buddies. I hope you're all having a great weekend. Um, I'm having a pretty good weekend. I just got my Christmas lights outside completely finished. Did like some pine pots outside in my window box, and then the last of the lights needed to go in there to kind of get that finished up. But I wanted to check in today with a little story time. So grab your tea if you would, because you might need it for this one. So I wanted to talk about a comment that I got on my video last weekend, and I might be maybe just misinterpreting it a little bit. It's always kind of hard to tell on the internet, where you don't hear the voice inflection and that sort of stuff. But I wrote it down because I wanted to be able to read it back word for word. Um, so I had this person comment on my video last week, and what they said was, "Please learn to pronounce the word Aglaonema. You're pronouncing it incorrectly." And it got me to thinking about all the different words that people pronounce differently, particularly when it comes to plants. So, um, at any rate, one of the plant buddies commented back to this person. Um, Her name is Leaf here, and she said, "Not to be rude, but how is it incorrect? I've never heard anyone say it differently." Which was kind of my first thought when I read the comment as well. And the person commented back, but all they said was, "You're saying it wrong." So, um, not exactly constructive if you're not gonna explain why you're saying that we're pronouncing it wrong. So I did go back and watch a bunch of videos, and I noticed that even on the channels that I follow, and even a lot of channels from the same area, which is there were three different ones from Dallas, but then I also watched a bunch of other videos as well, just to kind of see how different people pronounce the word Aglaonema. And it only took me two videos to spot the difference, which I had honestly never noticed that different people were pronouncing it differently before. Um, and if I'm being completely honest, I kind of wish I hadn't noticed. If this person hadn't commented on my video last weekend, I'm honestly not sure if I ever would have noticed. Um, I've maybe heard it a couple different times, like picked up on a little bit of a difference, and I always kind of just thought it was like accents or that sort of thing. Um, but then when I noticed that three of the people were in Dallas and there were two distinct ways that they pronounce it, one pronounced it in the same way as me, and two pronounced it the other way. I started delving in and watching a bunch of videos, and I soon noticed that it's honestly about 50-50 as far as people are pronouncing that word, but a lot of people are pronouncing it the same as I do, which is Aglaonema. And then I distinctly noticed, because I was listening for it, that some people pronounce it Aglaonema. Um, so I think the other way might be a little bit more correct, if you look at it phonetically, but I've got the two hard E sounds in there. But it really got me to thinking about the fact that a lot of people say different plant names differently. Um, and so I kind of made a list. So the first one, obviously, is the Aglaonema. And this is my beautiful Aglaonema that I bought last weekend. I tried to kind of have a little example of most of these types of plants here, but so this is my Aglaonema honey lemon, or Aglaonema, however you want to say it. I won't judge. And this is my Aglaonema Hello Kitty right here. But so like I was saying, I kind of made a list of some common plants I could think of that you hear two very distinct pronunciations on how people say the names. One is probably technically correct, but again, no judgment from me. I feel like in the world today, we are kind of a product of social media, and it's how we learn how to pronounce a lot of different words. So um, I think that's probably why there are kind of two distinct ways to pronounce a lot of plants. You've probably never heard that word until you maybe saw it on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. So the next one. So guys, what is this plant called? I would call this plant a Syndapsis. This is Syndapsis exotica here, and we're just going to pretend that dead leaf wasn't there. But um, so I pronounce it Syndapsis, but I do hear a lot of people call it Skindapsis. I think that C in the spelling of the word is technically supposed to be silent, but um, again, who am I to judge? So we're going to set the Syndapsis aside here. And I would encourage you, if you would like to comment on some of these different plants and let me know how do you pronounce it. And as an example, I wrote down kind of how I would phonetically spell the two different pronunciations for Aglaonema here. But I would interpret the capital letters as like a hard sound. Like the top would be Aglaonema, or the bottom would be Aglaonema. And I just realized you're probably seeing those backwards. But back to my list here. I do not have an example of this one because, in my opinion, these are difficult to grow. But how do you pronounce the word alocasia? I think that's probably the most common pronunciation, but I will also hear people pronounce it alocasia, where they are kind of hardening those vowel sounds a little bit differently. This next one is probably the most common one that people argue about online. Um, and which also brings me to the point, please don't argue in the comments. Please be respectful of one another. As a lot of people in the plant community online tend to say, please have good vibes only. Do not fight. And if anything gets out of hand, remember this is my channel and I do have the ability to delete those comments if things get really out of hand. Um, I did not delete that comment last weekend just because, again, maybe they didn't really mean it in an offensive way. I think kind of the way they worded it, it came across as a little bit rude to me, but again, who knows what their intentions really were there. So I did not delete that comment, even though I, in my opinion, kind of took it for maybe being a little bit rude, especially when they responded the second time and just said you're saying it wrong. But everyone's gonna know this one. Um, so you might call this a pothos or a pothos. It's got to be the most common one that there are two very distinctive ways to say that word, and people will probably argue about it online until the end of time. But you could also always just call it Epipremnum aureum, the scientific name. But again, do you pronounce this plant pothos or pothos? It's all really just in the enunciation of the vowels, like most of these are. So we'll set the pothos or pothos aside. Um, this next one's not really a pronunciation thing, but um, for the Monstera, this is the um, Monstera adansonii. This one's the narrow form. I do notice all the time that a lot of people will call this the Swiss cheese plant, and I think that one is just kind of a product of, uh, I guess, the sellers or growers of plants. At some point, it just became really popular to label this as a Swiss cheese plant. And again, that one's not a pronunciation thing as much as just a preference. Which word do you want to call it? Do you want to call it the um, like kind of made up name, which is just perfectly fine if you do, or do you want to call it Monstera, or in this case, specific case, Monstera adansonii? And then I do have one more here. This is another one that I don't have the specific plant for, um, and that is Dieffenbachia or Diffenbachia. Um, Again, I hear that pronounced in both ways. I'm not even really sure which one is more common there, but and in place of a Dieffenbachia, I have my Aglaonema golden dragon here, um, green dragon rather, just because I feel like this plant looks very similar to a Dieffenbachia. So, and with a lot of these pronunciations, I'll catch myself pronouncing them both ways, like even while I'm making videos. I think I noticed in my first part of the Lost in the Forest video tours, I caught myself saying alocasia, where you're kind of enunciating those vowels in a different manner. But I honestly do tend to usually say alocasia. But again, I hear it pronounced both ways online, so um, and I guess who am I to judge how you want to pronounce it? So, um, while we're here, I did also want to show something really pretty here. This is my amaryllis. I got this is a new one that I got this year. I also do have a bulb that hasn't started growing yet in the basement. I'm just kind of trying to figure out when I should start watering it and see if it'll bloom for me. But um, I just thought this was beautiful, and it kind of got its holidays mixed up because Thanksgiving was just 2 days ago, and I would prefer that this bloom more towards Christmas or the end of the year. But it does have a second stalk that hasn't started opening up, but I have a feeling since the first one is blooming, that the other one probably will. The variety name of this one is Red Ferrari, and this was from Walmart. And I usually buy a new one of these every year, but I've never had where it bloomed almost immediately after purchasing it like that. Usually they will get those blooms either right around Christmas or just very shortly after, like right around New Year's. So, regardless, it's a beautiful plant. I just probably am not going to have any flowers at the end of the year, sadly, but unless I buy another one, maybe. But so yeah, I just had to show that because it's looking absolutely beautiful at the moment here. And then, so again, let me know how you tend to pronounce these plant names of the ones that we talked about here. Again, also please be kind to one another in the comments. Good vibes only. Please don't fight about it. And again, I am not going to judge anyone for how they pronounce it. Um, and also, if you can think of any other plants that this might be the case where they're pronounced a couple different ways, like drop that in the comments too. These were just the plants that came to my mind when I started thinking about the fact that there are many plants that there are at least two different distinctive pronunciations for. So, but on that same token, um, I also just wanted to say, in the name of good vibes, that to be honest, for myself and for a lot of people, I think that the holidays, especially between Thanksgiving leading up until Christmas, and kind of all the pressure of like gift buying and all the other things that go along with Christmas, like getting together with family and friends and um, some employers have like a work Christmas party, for example. I do my workplace does do that, and that will be coming up next weekend, so I'm excited about that. But um, I think with all the things going on, and some people send Christmas cards, and all the decorating and baking and get-togethers and everything. I really do think that this becomes a stressful time of year at times, and um, please don't take that out on especially your retail workers. I can think of a lot of times that I've even just being in line in a store and listening to people interact with the cashiers, like honestly, kind of how rude people can be to them. And you have to keep in mind, it's a stressful time of year for people that work in jobs like that too. They're probably working a lot of extra hours. Some of these stores are open uh, um, much later than they would be during the normal times of the year. And I've definitely worked in a job like that. In fact, I had a part time job at a department store um, at one point, and I was also working a full time, like 40 ish hours a week job, like at least 40 hours, right about 40 hours. And at the same time, I had picked up this part time job to make extra money. And it was probably like October, maybe November, when I picked up this job because, of course, that is when retail places are hiring and staffing up for the holidays. And I just remember when I started working there, I told them that I think the latest I could work was like 9 or 10 or something, because my other job started at like 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning. And I just remember, that at first they honored that because it wasn't quite until the time they closed. So I think I probably told them I could work till like 9 or 9:30, and they closed at 10. And then as the holidays got closer between like Thanksgiving and Christmas, all of a sudden they started scheduling me until like midnight because they were open until midnight at that point. And I remember I talked to one of the managers about that, and I was like, "Hey, I um, when I applied, I wrote that I'm available until like 9:30 or whatever the case was." And they were basically like, "Well, you can either work these later hours or we don't need you anymore." So keep in mind, a lot of people work a retail job as like a second job, and they may be in a stressful situation like that where they're working 40 hours somewhere else, and now all of a sudden they're being forced to work until like midnight or some crazy hours um, at their part-time job. So um, but yeah, um, I think that's probably about all I have for now. I made some notes here. I just had jotted down the names that I wanted to talk about, kind of seeing if I kind of covered everything that I had on my mind today. But Um, so again, keep in mind to try to be giving out good vibes only, not only in our community here and in the comments, but in this stressful time of year, um, try to keep that in mind everywhere you go. Like anywhere that you're dealing with employees, like retail in particular, um, keep in mind that that's people's job and that's how they pay their bills. And um, if you're going to be a jerk to them, um, you're putting them in a really difficult situation because they're at work. They can't exactly just like walk away or not have to talk to you. Whereas online, again, we should be having good vibes and good interactions. I feel like especially in the plant community, um, and I feel not to talk about politics, but to use that as an example. People get like so fired up, like one side or the other, and get into like these huge arguments online. And I feel like people are bringing that into every other aspect of life, like plants or other hobbies, or just celebrity news and stuff like that that people may discuss online. Like people are just get so worked up and crazy over it, and at the end of the day, it's just plants or it's just celebrity news or gossip or whatever you're talking about online. So um, I feel like a lot of that stuff. I mean, yes, it is important to you. I mean, plants are very important to me, but at the end of the day, is it really hurting you if somebody is pronouncing something a different way or if they have a different opinion on plant care? Not, not at all. It's really not. Life will go on, and it's really not worth um, getting in some kind of online argument about it. And I feel like a little bit of that is kind of just online culture. Like so many people will go somewhere just to kind of be a troll, basically. And I feel like in modern times, we have forgotten the first rule of the internet, which is don't feed the trolls. Like, if someone's being a jerk, you don't necessarily have to respond to them at all. You can ignore it. If it's on your own social media, or for example, on my YouTube channel or my Instagram, um, if it's really something really offensive that they're saying to me or to someone else in the comments, um, keep in mind that you always have the option to go ahead and delete that. If it's something really rude, you absolutely can just ignore it. You don't have to respond. You don't have to argue. Delete it and it's gone. Period. If it's really something that bad or that offensive. So um, but yeah, I think that's probably gonna about wrap up my video for today. Like I was saying, I did put the finishing touches on my outdoor Christmas lights today. But I do not have any of my indoor stuff done, so I really need to start to focus on that. Um, in this room here, I do put my Christmas tree in the window that is behind the camera, which I have showed that space in some of my other videos where like the stone floor is there. That window is the only spot that my Christmas tree will fit in my living room. So I do have to move a whole bunch of stuff around. There are plant shelves there. Fortunately, it's designed where it's like a long plant shelf, but each section can be moved individually. So it's almost more of like one single plant stand size, like one little table. And so the two biggest ones will be staying in opposite corners over there. Um, but then the rest of the stuff I have to kind of figure out where I'm going to fit that, where it's still going to get light. I know I'm going to have to rearrange that space and then also the space directly behind me here where the cabinet is. Because the answer to how am I going to move that stuff around and still have everything get light is that I'm going to try to take advantage of those grow lights in the cabinet by putting some more stuff over there. And that corner is already kind of full because every time a plant kind of outgrows the cabinet, it ends up just living in front of the cabinet there. So I've got a lot of rearranging to do, but I would like to be able to hopefully finish putting up my Christmas tree in this room today. That's usually my first indoor thing that I put up. Um, and then I usually kind of try to finish out everything else that I do in this room and then do the rest of the upstairs. I have like stuff I put out in the kitchen, a little bit in the dining room, even the bathroom, which is mainly window clings and like a snowman soap dispenser thing. But and then from there, I usually kind of move into the basement. I use a lot of garland down there, and there is a second Christmas tree down there. So at some point here, I will be trying to make, even if it's not part of one of my longer videos, I did want to try to make a video of my outdoor Christmas lights to show you guys, and then as well as my indoor decorations. Like once those are finished, I want to kind of do like a little house tour. But one thing's for sure, that is that my beautiful amaryllis here, uh, unfortunately, will not be blooming through the entire Christmas season, but again, he is absolutely beautiful at the moment here, and we'll definitely enjoy this for as long as it is blooming. There's that little extra, you can see he's got another flower stalk on the other side, so it'd be nice if that would hold off till closer to Christmas, but usually once your first stalk is finished blooming, that next one is probably just about to start opening up. So, but I'll enjoy that for as long as I can this holiday season, and as well as all my other decorations. I do really love Christmas, just because it brings a time to decorate and have glitter and lights and everything like that, and it really brightens up these dark, cold days. I definitely leave my decorations up pretty much until the end of January, and then I do kind of start to get anxious to get my plants back in their places. So at that point, I do kind of want to take that tree down and um, declutter everything once again. But as you can have probably noticed during this video too, it is snowing today, and um, I'm not sure what time it is, but it is awfully dark out there already at this point of the afternoon, um, and probably more so just because it is a snowstorm going on out there right now. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit that like button. I would love it if you were to subscribe to my channel. Um, Again, please feel free. I encourage you to put in the comments here. How do you pronounce those different plant names? If you could, just kind of use those capitalized letters to indicate like the hard E or A sound. Um, and then also, if you have Instagram and would like to follow me on there, I am on Instagram with the same username as my channel here, so it is planty_buds. But I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Hope you get all your Christmas decorating done if that is something that you partake in. And I'll see you guys next weekend with another Planty video. Bye.